Hi, this is a demonstration of all the tools I created for Semester A Development Project 1. First tool being a pivot tool that lets you change pivot, uh, as opposed to the ways in which you change it manually. You can just click on the script. You might want to align the pivot to the vertex or the a certain vertex or edge. It's up to you, but what this tool does is it just lets you do it on a on based on the bounding box. So you have the thumbtack pivot grid tool, and you have to select an n number of divisions, be 3, 10, how much ever you want. It just creates it. Um, you have two options. You can create a grid as it does. It creates a grid. Sorry about that. That's yeah. So this grid right here, it's creating a when you give it the value of three, it creates a 3 by 3 by 3, which is three here, three XYZ. Then you have another option to do it on the draw lines, which I will demonstrate in a minute. But to set the pivot, all you have to do is just click on the locator, and then the pivot is just set. Now, if you were to change the pivot with draw lines checked on, you would just select create grid, and then you have a grid made up of curves and spheres for better visuals in case your eyesight is not as good, or if you would just like to, if you prefer the visual representation of it to be better. Uh, Depends on you. But I thought this is really nice because I've seen 3ds Max uh, scripts that can do this, but this is the only way I could figure out how to adapt it to Maya. So yes, and for now I want the pivot to be uh, to this edge, let's say this edge, and I'm just going to click on it, and then it just sets the pivot to that. So why a pivot like this? Why a tool like this? It just makes it easier for you to duplicate objects, or imagine you were creating something in such as a pattern, you can just click on it and you can just rotate holding down shift, and you could just create uh, n number of iterations, or you just wanted to, let's say, create a floral pattern for some use case scenario, whatever it might be. There you go. There's a floral pattern, not perfectly arranged, but there is a floral pattern, as you can see. Um, that's something you can do, and that will be all for this demonstration of this tool. For the demonstration of my second script, which is an autosave script. So my main purpose of this autosave script is that when I'm working with files that are large or projects that are large that tend to constantly crash, I would just work with autosave on. I'm really happy with what Maya has got on going on by default. It just does just the I mean, it just does the job, but I need my naming to be right. I need certain extensions by the name, or I need certain my files to be named in a certain way so that I can use regex and it just fix that up. So this is an autosave script that I've created. I'm just going to say SPHERE sphere. Um, then this is a model. MDL stands for model. RIG stands for rig. LDV stands for lookdev, and GRM stands for groom, and sim stands for simulation. So I'm just going to go to desktop. It's just a mess. My desktop's just a mess. I'm just going to say temp save, and I'm going to start autosave. We do not have that much time, so we'll just give it 1 minute, and it's just autosaving. You can just. I didn't add a minimize button, but yes, true. That's a big issue. We'll fix that. Um, so um, this is going to be the primary file that you save, and then it keeps on iterating. Now you can see that this file is named sphere MDL model version 001, and then you just want to keep saving. It just keeps saving all the time. So so if you just go to desktop and then there's temp save, you just wait for 1 minute, and we'll just come back after 1 minute and see what it does. Or you could just stay and watch. Yeah. So I hope you were watching. I haven't done anything. It just says MDL v0002. So what it does is you'll be working on the first file, which is going to be the main file, and it's just going to keep iterating for set some number of seconds, or not seconds. We're not doing it in seconds. Saving in seconds is going to be a nightmare. But yeah, you get the point. That's pretty much it. Um, I'm just going to stop the autosave. So yes, this is my third script. I'll be demonstrating this on a sphere. So what I'll be doing is to delete unwanted nodes, just basically words on characters. If you have any unwanted node, for example, let's say you have something like you are working on files from an older version of Maya, and then let's say you have something coming in, some other node from some other renderer, or you have um, something like a ray node or something. If you have ever heard of mental ray, or if you have actually lived to use it, but something like that, it just deletes that. Now to show you that it just deletes empty groups, I'm going to group my sphere, and I'm going to take my sphere out of the group. What it's going to do is it's going to delete empty groups. As you can see, the empty group is gone. And okay, now you can see that. Next, we have to center the pivot. You can see the pivot is at the top. You just click on that center pivot. Nothing much, nothing great. But bounding box, you can just click bounding box and then it just changes it to a bounding box. You can hit 5 again and then brings it back up. It's quite easy. Something I've been taught is that if you're saving a file, you might want to position it straight front view, and then you want to move it to bounding box. You want to set it to bounding box so that the next time the file loads, it loads faster. And then for the outliner or the hypershade, for the hypershade, you can just go to random files. You can just create a bunch of nodes. They don't need to be assigned. They don't need to be anything else. And you can simply just hit delete unused nodes and they just go off, because it just keeps the active ones in there and then it just deletes the other ones. Um, so now, since this is done, you have this file here, and you want to group it as geo. If you can go into the code of the actual code in itself, I think I've mentioned it, but you can just change anything. If you don't want it to be named as geo, or if you want to name it as another group with another naming convention, you can just edit that bit of code and you can just change it. For now, it's just set to geo. You can just set as geo, and you can see that the group is grouped as geo, or you can run all checks and then it will group it as geo, frame it, and then you have this in front of you. All right. So you can go to check color sets. I don't know. Wait a minute. Where is it? Check color sets. Yeah, sorry. So, all right. Character model checks. So to check character model sets, you can go into mesh display. You can go to color set editor. Here we have 3 color sets. You do not need 3 color sets. Well, there are cases you would need multiple color sets. Don't know why, but depends on the pipeline or whatever you're dealing with. You just select check color sets, and then it gives you an output saying, yes, this geo has n number of color sets. Next, you're moving on to UVs, and then in UVs, you're going to go to UV sets, and then you're just going to create multiple UV sets, and then it just says check UV set with n incorrect number of UV set is if it says that it has got incorrect number of UV sets, or maybe you have a UV set, extra UV set, it will just display. You will have to go fix it yourself. You can check unnecessary history. That it says it's got unnecessary history. There's no point in saving history of creating a color set. Don't know why, but you just don't need it. Um, and you go to rigging, and in rigging, you're just going to create two joints and go to Q, and you just hit E, rotate it. You're going to click on that and check rotated joints. Joint with non-zero rotation is it just shows that that joint's got non-zero rotation. Or you can just select check rotated joints and it would just show that it's got non-zero rotation. That's just the demo. When it comes to a huge character, you'd have to go through the list, you would have to go through the joint, the hierarchy, and you'd have to find each and every individual joint. Haven't learned how to program it and set it back to default state. Well, you would have you can set it back to default state. There is a command, but I haven't used it. Um, and then you can just click that and you can select check scale joints, and then it just says joint to is scaled. Uh, so same name nodes in case you are working with, let's say, a file, and then you have groups. Let's say I was working with one of my juniors uh, files, and there's multiple pins, mostly thumbtacks on the pin on the board. And then I want to go ahead and rename each and individual thumbtack on each and every board, but I want each pin to go with each board. So I would set them into groups, for example. And if this sphere was one pin and this sphere was another pin, but they went to two different boards, but they have the same name. So you can get confused if you just accidentally shuffle them or you move them in the hierarchy. So you can just check name nodes, and then you would have nodes like same name nodes, two different nodes at the same name. Anywhere, can be anywhere. You can say it can be a geo, it can be a shader, whatever. If it says that, then it does not work. It will say that it's right there. You have to rename it so that you have to add underscore, let's say board two, or you have to add underscore board one to make sure that they stand apart and you understand them better. Plus, if you're giving this to the client understands it better. And anybody, not just the client, anybody who opens your file will be able to understand it and just work with it easily. Or you can just click run all character checks, and then everything is just completed, checked, and it just gives you an output. So